Hello there, and welcome to What's the Point? A question we should all be asking ourselves, and the podcast by brand architect Bill Ellis that will help you discover, clarify, and live your purpose.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What's the Point? Bill Ellis, your host, and today I've got another fabulous guest, a woman who's highly accomplished in the world of business, but more so, I think, in her mentorship of other women and men in business, and her generosity and her sense of giving. She is now a published best-selling author, and there's a lot to talk about with this lady, and that lady is Tessa Greenspan. Hello, Tessa.
Hello, Bill.
I'm excited to speak with you. I've known you for a long time, and it's just very good to see that your story is finally out in book form. For those of you watching on YouTube, and yes, all of the podcasts are available on YouTube. In the background is a picture of Tessa's, not a picture, an actual copy of Tessa's book, From the Outhouse to the Penthouse. We'll talk about that because it's a story of life as opposed to just a story of business. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one of the most notable accomplishments of Tessa in the world of business is taking a business that was losing $1 million and turning that around into a $10 million revenue company. And that was the Sappington Farmers Market here in St. Louis. Tell us, Tessa, how that came about, how did you get involved in that, and just give us the overview of that turnaround, because it's incredible.
Yes, and after the fact, you can really see how incredible it was. But when you're in the space, you're just putting your head down and working. I opened a store with partners, and it was a father and son that owned a chain of stores. And so since they had more experience in the supermarket, we decided that they would run the store. Well, after 3 years, they wanted a meeting. Now, first, I will take responsibility. I was not watching. I was sort of a silent partner and was not paying attention. These are people that I had known for 20 years. So I trusted them. So they wanted a meeting after 3 years. October 30th was the date. And they handed me the keys and said that they were declaring bankruptcy. Well, they had sold their chain. The person defaulted on the money, and they had some major challenges. So I was in shock. They handed me the keys, and the store was mine to do what I could.
Wow.
And when I got into the books more, I saw that they had siphoned a lot of money, and different ways that looked legal, but they would get a vendor and charge all they could, and then they would change vendors. So there were a lot of money owed. It was $1 million in today's money. So I could do the same. I could declare bankruptcy, which I was advised to do. I knew all of the vendors, and I could not do that. I was going to turn it around or do my best trying. And by the grace of God, little by little, that was the first store. I built that up, paid off all of the debt, and it took me 10 years. And then I was able to open another store 3 times the size of the original and built that up to $10 million in sales after a period of time. And was really creative and didn't realize how creative I was until after the fact. So I'm just really grateful that I was able to do that and learning. So there's some really major lessons here that I'd like to share with your audience.
Yeah, please do.
Is forgiveness. It was important. I mean, I was so stressed, so shocked, so everything that I couldn't even think. My goal was to turn this store around, as I said, and the important part was that I forgave those partners. Now, it doesn't mean that I forgot. I never saw them again, ever. The thing of it is, forgiveness is so important. Unforgiveness is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. And I needed every ounce of energy to turning that store around. And if I had not forgiven, it would have occupied my mind with the injustice and all of the other kinds of things. So that is an important lesson for every single person, I feel, that we can't hold on to something and really advance to the best of our ability. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, that's a great lesson, and let's take just a quick pause because there are a lot of lessons here already, Tessa, and thank you for sharing. I think the first one that struck me is how critical it is, no matter how well we know someone or believe that they're capable, to stay diligent in what they are doing, in particular when it comes to things that affect us, in your case, finances and the whole business world. But making sure that we don't abdicate our accountability, our own accountability. So I think that's one thing. The second thing is what I absolutely admire is your commitment to, I'm not going to let these vendors who I know take this loss and take what some would call the smart way, others might call the easy way out in declaring bankruptcy. So that took a lot of courage and fortitude on your part, I think. So two lessons before we even get to yours on forgiveness are pay attention, have your diligence, and then embrace your integrity.
This is true. And what you just said is really important also, Bill. And that is, it's really important to pay attention. I take responsibility for that part. I was not paying attention to the business. I was doing a lot of other things, trusting. And this is something so important for business owners. Watch your business, keep track of all of the things that are happening. It's really important to not let somebody run your business without you knowing exactly what's going on.
That's absolutely true. So moving on, you said that there were three things, and the first one you talked about is forgiveness, and I love how you explained the reality of that. Forgiveness frees up your energy expenditures because you're not putting energy on that. But the other thing it does too, I think, and let me know what your thoughts are on this. It also allows a more positive approach to life because if anyone is unable to forgive, and that builds into resentment, which it will, then we start to have a victim mindset, and that takes a ton of energy away from it. So yeah, so forgiveness is a great one. You had mentioned three, I believe. What are the other two?
Well, my mother was my mentor too in many ways, and she said you can be a victim or a victor. You choose.
Well, that was a nice segue.
Yes.
Okay, victim or victor. The point is there you have choice, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. I'm going to come back in a bit to the story of your mother and your childhood, if that's okay.
Yes.
So we have forgiveness, we have choose, victor or victim, and the
Yes.
third?
Is always do your best. No matter what you do your best.
Okay. So don't slouch, don't cut corners.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And have integrity and credibility. I mean, it's you earn that. You do not get that as a way of life. You earn the credibility and the integrity. That cannot be taken away from you no matter what happens in life.
Well, those are three great hints as to how to live life and also in business. And the last one you just touched on, do your best, have integrity. How did that help you in, because we're talking a little while ago, because you had the farmers market for 28 years and that's
Yes.
been gone for a while. So
Yes.
when you were first doing this as a woman in business, what type of challenges did that present to you?
Well, I was a woman in the supermarket in the produce business before many women were. So it was sort of a trail that breaking that I had done. And actually, people would come into the store. I mean, it was my store. They would say, "Is your husband here?" And I said, "No, but I can tell you where you can find him if you'd like to see him." So,
Because he was not actively involved.
no, he was a produce buyer, and that was his job. And he bought some of the produce, but he did not own any part of the store, did not run the store.
Right.
Was a supporter of mine, which is really good. That's another important thing. It's really important to have support from your loved ones, because it's really hard if you don't.
Yeah, that's true. So again, I'll come back to that in a second, but go on with the challenges of having been a female running a business. And let's face it, at the time, virtually every business was male dominated.
Yes.
But certainly in the produce area and the farming and the shipping and all of that, there had to be some hills to climb for you.
Yes, there were. There were. There was so many things. I mean, even credit. It was debatable of whether I could get credit on my own, and it really is proving yourself and being authentic and credible that eventually I was able to get any amount of money that I wanted. At first, though, it was not so easy.
Yeah, I would assume it was especially hard being a female, but with $1 million debt,
Yeah.
you're not going to get credit from anyone, male or female, I wouldn't suspect.
That's true. That's true.
So take me through the progress of the farmers market from when you opened the larger store and through its entirety.
I was ahead of the curve before most people, and I didn't realize all of these things until after the whole fact. There were a number of things that I did that could help a lot of your listeners. It's being creative, to be competitive with chain stores, and they have better buying power. You had to be really unique and find ways that you could offer the same thing, the same price or less. So a lot of things that I did that I'm quite proud of is one, I saw that there were 30,000 Bosnians here in the city. And so I found an importer in New York City, and I brought in a pallet of mixed foods from Bosnia and Croatia. I then advertised in their little newspaper, and I then built a business. I added more product and more product. I found out that they loved cubanella peppers, which was not available here. I would get it from Chicago. And so it's researching where I could get things at a reasonable cost. Then they loved it so much. I have a farmer here in St. Louis that I asked him to grow these cubanella peppers. And I was able to offer it much less than when I brought it in from Chicago. So I built a business, started with 4 foot. It was eventually 16 foot shelving with authentic, different foods from Bosnia, Croatia, Hungary, and Germany, and Italy also.
Yeah. So kind of the greater Balkan area. So what you've done is, what you had done there is a wonderful mini case study for business. You identified a unique market. You
Yes.
researched what that market needs, what you could provide for them, what value you could bring. And the value you brought is bringing some foods that they're used to having and couldn't access. And then
Yes.
you took the steps to properly advertise. And for those listening, an interesting side note, St. Louis has the largest Bosnian population outside of Bosnia. And it's an incredible group of people. And yeah,
Yes.
it's good to hear that you were able to make that inroad. So another example, please. What you?
Well, another great example is that I had cheeses, but I could not compete with the chain stores. And so I identified and found a cheese maker in Wisconsin, and I visited with my store manager, the cheesemaker. And we made a deal that I would bring in mixed cheeses, 3,000 pounds a month. And then I built a room for women who did nothing but cut, wrap, and slice. I had 200 kinds of cheeses, and I was able to have cheese $2, $3, $4, $5 a pound less than the chain stores. And so I built that up too, to where it was doing very well.
Yeah, and the what I want to do is just applaud you for those examples, and I know there's more, and I don't think we have time to get into every example, but suffice it to say that there were plenty because your business was so successful for so long. I
Yes.
think that the lessons that anyone listening right now should already have just a page of notes of ideas and suggestions and things that they should apply themselves to. And creativity is probably right at the top of it. It's essential to, and that comes to me under the heading of branding. Uh,
Yes.
it's what value is it that you bring to the marketplace? And you brought culture to the greater Bosnian population. You brought selection and affordability to quality cheeses, and those types of things help you be successful.
Yes. I also had the largest produce department in the city of St. Louis at that time. And that was my mainstay, the produce. But one of the most creative things that I did when I built the second store is I had a toy train that went around the entire store. And I had a flat car on this. It was a G gauge train. And that I would do the special of the day on a cardboard. And it would go around the entire store over the shelving. More people love that train, and that's many kids grew up saying, I want to go to the train store. But more people and adults and men especially love the train. So that too was one of the most creative things that I could have done. When I built the store, that was one of my dreams, to have a toy train that went around the entire store.
What do you think sparked that idea?
Well, I always wanted it. The train at Union Station, they had trains that went around. And I don't know, for many years, I loved the train idea. And I just thought I could have two things. One, the train, which was a thing, but I could have the special of the day, and you would have to go around the entire store, especially if you had children. My goal was to market to families because they bought more. And so that was one of the many things.
And a brilliant idea it was. A question for you. Appealing to families and realizing that kids would be attracted to the trains, and men too, which is an interesting but real situation. Did you have something in store, either product or activity or attraction other than the train, geared towards the kids, so the kids would have their mom and dad take them to the store? Were there other things in addition to the train?
Well, the train was the attraction. Actually, people who came from out of town who visited people would bring their guests to the store to see the train. That was the major. I had events. I made the store so that you loved coming to it. You would see people, you would talk. I would, on the PA, say, Pam gets a star on a candy bar, or it's Joey's birthday, wish him. So I made it so that it's personal rather than just some things. I also gave the cashiers $5 in extra in theirs if anybody needed a few pennies or a dollar or two. So a lot of creative I made it so that I wanted people to feel at home, that they enjoy. I also had events like the Red Cross and different things once a month, which again, I wanted to create a community that just like old times, that you would go and you would talk and you would enjoy it while you went to the store.
Tessa, what you make me think of here is listeners know that I am a go-giver, speaker, and certified coach. And the premise of the go-giver, the first law of the go-giver is very simply this: to provide more in value than you take in payment. And some people take that wrong, but your examples here to me, are perfect examples of what that law suggests, and that is anyone can sell a head of lettuce. Anyone can
Yeah.
sell a block of cheese. Anyone can sell whatever was in your store.
Hmm.
And you can try to compete on price, but that's not always not everyone can do that successfully. But when it says give more in value, what you were giving in value was the experience.
Yes,
An
exactly.
experience they would not get and could not get at any of your competitors. The train, the personalized announcements, the extra little givings, that is providing more in value than you take in payment. And most of that didn't cost you anything.
No,
Financially, well, monetarily, didn't cost you anything.
that's true. People love to come to the store. There's an energy too. I also put in lights that gave you the feeling of sunlight. So I did a lot of things, and again, didn't realize how good it was until after the fact. But I wanted people to have that good experience. Whether they bought $1 worth or $10 worth or $100 worth.
Well, you know the saying, and I would attribute it, but I'm drawing a blank as to who said it originally, but people will may not remember what you say to them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel, and
Ex-
that's part of the continuation of building a brand and a loyal customer base. Is if I go into, I don't know, pick a supermarket. I don't want to name names here, but if I go into any supermarket today, that's not going to happen, or any retailer for that matter, or very few that's going to happen. But if I know that one of those places makes me feel special, or that I just have a good sense of walking in there, I'm going to go there rather than the other place. And that also allows you as the store owner, if you choose, to mark it up a little bit more, if that opportunity presents, and if it allows you to stay competitive.
Yes. Well, I was competitive, and I had a competitive edge in the produce department, which everyone wanted it. So
Was
you're
all of
absolutely
your produce locally sourced for the most part, or it couldn't have been all of it?
no, it was all over the country. I mean, there, Produce Row brings in produce from all over the country, and sometimes all over the world. And then that is the place that is the the site that then provides to all of the supermarkets and all of the different places here in St. Louis.
Okay. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, Tessa, and go back to something that I mentioned I wanted to take a deeper dive on, assuming you're okay with going there. But you
Yeah,
talked about your mother being a strong influence in your life, and a strong, I'm going to use these words, mentor, coach, friend, supporter.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
will you tell us more, please, about your mom and your relationship with her and how that dynamic worked?
Yes, I feel that it's really important for me to start at the beginning so that you know how brave she was. When she was 14 years old, she was from the back hills of Arkansas. They had a country picnic, and she met a young man. They were walking, and he pulled her in the woods and attacked her. She was traumatized. He said, "If you tell anybody, I'm going to come and kill your family." So she was afraid to tell anyone. And she had a stepmother who really, there were like 9 or 10 kids in this house, and so she didn't have anyone to talk to. Well, as a result, she was pregnant from that, and she was pregnant with me. And
Hmm.
I was born in this house with a hard dirt floor, no electricity, no running water, and an outhouse out back. And that's really how I came up with the name of the book. And though they didn't want another mouth to feed, so they made her marry a man who wanted to get out of the draft at the time. He was not nice, he was an alcoholic, and she had another little girl by him. And he was drafted after she wrote a letter to the draft board. You couldn't do it nowadays, but she wrote a letter to the draft board and said, "My husband needs to be drafted."
Sorry. Sorry, but I find that very funny. Good
It
for
is.
her.
It's hilarious. How would she know? I mean, the father made the girls quit when they were in the eighth grade because they were just going to have babies and raise kids. So anyway, that was the mentality of that era. My mother then went to East St. Louis, Illinois, which was nice at the time. She had sisters who lived there, and so she worked as a waitress. When her husband got out of the service, he wanted a divorce. So I like to encourage people to think about there is one or two things that happen in your life that change your life. Either I'm always going to be this way or I'm never going to be this way. And what came to me, this father, who I thought was my father, visited. We were visiting my grandparents in Arkansas. He came in his army. He was on leave in his army uniform. He picked up my little sister, which was his daughter, held her in his lap, brought her, it was Christmas time, a pearl necklace and a doll, and nothing for me. He didn't even look at me. It was like I didn't exist. Well, this made me think, what's wrong with me? Right. So I went into the kitchen, and an aunt said, honey, don't you worry. That's not your daddy anyway. How do you process this when you're 4.5 years old? It was at that moment, though, that shaped my life. I decided I'm going to be so cute, so smart, so successful in everything that no one can ever ignore me again. And I became an overachiever all my life. And it served me well. And then I became a self-help learning and growing as a person, and was able to eventually let go of that I don't have to prove my worth to anyone. I am good enough. It doesn't matter who my dad is.
What a powerful story, and again, a brilliant lesson. Once we learn to accept and love ourselves, we don't have to rely on other people's opinion and assessment and judgment. And it doesn't happen in the snap of fingers or necessarily overnight. So, it takes us a while. In my experience, it takes us a while in life to really find our own true worth and value. So kudos to you for that. And then continuing on, though, you continued on, right, as a what you self-described overachiever.
Right. There's another situation I'd like to explain about my mother. When she was 20 years old, she was coming to get my sister and I in Arkansas, and I was 5. She was riding with a friend, and they were in a horrible car wreck. Crushed her from the waist down. They had to get her out of the car. She couldn't, they didn't believe she was going to live. She was in the hospital for 13 months.
Oh my goodness.
After 12 months, now she was 21 by this time, the gangrene developed in her left leg, and they had to amputate her left leg. When the psychiatrist came in to tell her about this and prepare her, she said, do what you have to do. I have 2 little girls to raise. Wow. That is my role model.
And I can see and hear the emotion in that. And if that's not an example of true love, I don't know what is. That's a very powerful, again, another powerful story. I can see why you say your mother was such a strong influence in your life.
She never gave up, never quit. She went to school. We were on welfare when she got out of the hospital, and she didn't want to be on welfare. So she found a government program that taught people, she was a waitress before, how to be a secretary in her office. She went to school on a bus, on crutches for over a year, learning how to be a secretary in her office. Wow. Those examples are so powerful.
They are. In particular, I mean, it's powerful to me just hearing about it, but when that's your own mother and you're living the experience with her, it had to just really get deep into your heart and soul, the strength and the love that woman had for you.
Yeah. And she loved me unconditionally. Many times children that began like I did are they don't want to resent them, but many times they feel, well, if it weren't for this, I would have this or I would do this. Mm-hmm. So she loved me unconditionally. This is one of my gifts, that I had this mother that absolutely loved me.
And from my experience with you, you're passing that on to people in general, but also your own daughter.
Yes. My daughter and I have this phenomenal relationship. Yes.
Did she have a chance to meet her grandmother, your mom?
Yes, they were best friends. Actually, my mother came to live with me. We had an apartment in the lower level, and Terry, my daughter, would go in her room and sleep. She just loved her grandma so much.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
So
Very
she lived
nice.
with me for about 15 years.
That's fabulous.
Hmm.
So now that we have kind of the uh, business success and we have the powerful background starting in that little dirt floor house with the outhouse, let's segue to your book, From the Outhouse to the Penthouse, which
Right.
is has made the bestseller list on Amazon.
Yeah.
Tell us about being a best-selling author, Tessa.
Well, I don't think it makes much difference to me. I'm just telling my story. My goal in life is to live full out, healthy, and to touch as many people as I possibly can in a positive way. And the book can do this for many, many people. And so this is my goal, is to encourage and to let people know it doesn't matter where you come from, it's what you decide to do with your life. It much motivation, inspiration, and many different stories in the book, and about the business too. So it really has something for everyone, and it's being turned into a movie. So
Yeah, tell us about the movie and how that's progressing in the current actors writers strike. That
well,
must have put
that's
it on hold.
there are a lot of producers that are looking at it. We'll have to wait until the strike is over with to do this, but they have the time now to do it. So there are like five different ones. And if anybody else knows of a producer that would love it, you know, you can contact me at Tessa@TessaGreenspan.com.
Well, Tessa at TessaGreenspan.com. That's GreensPan. No silent H in there. Greenspan. All of that information will be in the show notes, by the way. Off camera, I'm going to give you a potential contact to help you with the film. But here's something else that I learned from Tessa in our conversations prior to recording. Anyone that reads the book Outhouse to the Penthouse that wants to find clarification or talk or discuss, reach out to Tessa at TessaGreenspan.com, and she schedules time to speak with people that have read her book that want to learn more. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I will answer any question. Hmm.
That's phenomenal. I have never heard of an author at any level saying anyone can reach out to me and we'll find a time to speak.
Yeah, well, that's my goal in life, is to touch people's lives who want to be touched.
Well, see, now you're segueing into why I do this show. What you just stated to me, my take on that is that's what you see as your purpose. So
Yes,
you're living your purpose and delivering your purpose, and the book is a vehicle.
yes,
Writing a book wasn't the purpose. Delivering the message and helping others is the purpose.
exactly.
And that's what I think a lot of us need to really embrace is oftentimes achieving our purpose. Uh, there's a vehicle to that, and sometimes we focus on not you, but sometimes people might focus on I've got to write the book, the book, the book, the book. I've got to have a book, and they can gloss over what's the point of the book? What are you trying to accomplish with that? Who are you trying to touch with that? What's the point? So I always talk to people that I mentor, business people. We need to know the thing behind the thing because that's what drives us. What drives us? That's what had you be that
Yes,
successful in business. That's what led you to write and publish this book and to be seeking to have it made into a movie. If you had your wish, who would you have play Tessa Greenspan in the movie? If it could be anyone.
well, a lot of people ask me that. It would have to be a lot of different people. I like Jessica Chasen. Um, I love Meryl Streep. I mean, she's probably out of the pocket on money. Although on the book, I have the screenplay. On the movie, I know how that people can film it, like in Georgia, and get total tax credits for it. So I have a lot of different, and I'm sure that there are many producers who know, but there are ways that it can be even made.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story that I would like to share, and that is that it's really important to live full out and to really be aware. It's really important to meditate, to listen to positive things. And I'd like to share one story that I think was really great on the law of attraction.
Please do.
Okay. I wrote the book actually in a month. I had help. I was determined. I was going to the Matrix, to Bob Proctor's Matrix. I have been a student of self-help and self-development for 40 years. And Bob Proctor is one of the persons that I really admired. So I was going to the Matrix, a week-long program. This was in 2019 at the, in Toronto. Well, I wanted the book finished because I wanted him to write the foreword. I had not met him. I'd taken a lot of his classes. I had not met him personally. I had the flash drive with me. That's why I wanted to finish the book so quickly. And after 2 days, I said, would you read this and would you write a foreword? He said, sure. Now, on the cover, I had made the cover and he had not seen it. I had foreword by Bob Proctor. This is I think that's a great story to really put out there what you want in life and put it out there. You know, I knew that I could have changed the title if I wanted to, but I didn't. And he wrote the foreword, and I'm really grateful because he died. And you know, I'm probably one of the last ones he wrote a foreword for a book.
What a terrific story! What a terrific endorsement and testimonial for the book.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah. So just a minute on the law of attraction, because I think there's some confusion on that, and I know that I've had confusion myself. And some people think that if we just have a vision, and then you go sit on the sofa and wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
That's not it at all. Tell us more about how you see and how you act on the law of attraction.
Well, I have lots of methods. I meditate every single morning. I have readings that I read. I have a guided meditation and a silent meditation. I write what I want in life. I have my readings. And then I really live my life with expecting. You know, being grateful is one of the most powerful things. I have mantras that I say to myself all day long. I have mantras before I start my meditation. So it's a lifelong practice, though. You can't all of a sudden get up and be positive. You can't all of a sudden be up and get up and have a law of attraction. There is a method, I think, to it. And that is, it's really important to visualize. It's really important to create the movie in your mind and then do something. It doesn't mean that it's going to get to exactly where you want to go, but it will be similar to where you want to go. That's my impression, anyway.
Yeah, and what's unsaid there is I think you've laid the foundation, but what still I think needs to be said is you still have to take the action.
Yes.
So if you're going on a trip, first of all, it helps to know where you're going on the trip or where you'd like to go on the trip, and then you can plan out the path. But then, so it's you can envision yourself enjoying wherever you may be it Paris or be it Manhattan, or whatever the case might be. But you still have to take the steps and the actions that that will present that opportunity to us.
That's absolutely true.
And starting with a premise of gratitude, I believe very strongly that gratitude is the gateway to happiness.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And it's not a question of finding happiness, it's a question of being happy with what we have.
That's true.
You know, there's one of my earlier guests on the podcast is a delightful, wonderful man, very successful in business and in life. His name is Frank McKinney, and he has been very successful financially. I was listening to him give a talk at one point, and he was actually asking for donations to his foundation that helps people in Haiti. But what I bring that up just to say that one of the things he said is we all want more.
Yeah.
Whether you pray for more, ask for more, think about more, we all want more. So however you go about it, let me ask you all to be grateful for the more you already have.
That's true.
And that's been a long, long time since I heard Frank say that, and it just resonates with me because, you know, there's always someone worse off than us. There's always someone that's had tougher luck, more misfortune, less good news. But so we have something to be grateful for.
I totally agree. And actually I totally agree with you. I mean, I post positive messages every day on Facebook. So if anybody wants to follow me, it's Tessa Greenspan. And love is in the banner. I post a lot of things on gratitude in a million different ways. There are a million different ways to say it, but it is the absolute, and I totally agree with you. The most important, it's really important to be grateful for where you are in order to get to where you want to go.
Right. Very well said. So, Tessa, thank you for your time and sharing your insights and your wisdom and your life story and the powerful experience of you with your mother and now your daughter, Terry. But when you put this all together, and you've already touched on it, I think, but as you probably know, I always end my podcast with one question, and that is, for all the listeners, for yourself, for me, Tessa, what's the point?
The point is to be an example and to look for people to be an example to you. The point is to live life full out every single day and with gratitude. That's the point.
Simple yet powerful and effective. Tessa Greenspan. All of your information will be in the show notes, listeners. And buy the book, read the book, get inspired by the book, learn from the book. And if you want to have a chat with Tessa at tessagreenspan.com. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you more. Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We can promise you'll gain value in every one. Rating and reviewing makes us more discoverable and helps others find out what's the point. And if you'd like to know more about Bill Ellis or contact him, please visit his website, www.brandingpillars.com. See you next time.